7 Strategies for Wealth and Happiness by Rohn. Chapter 3. Goals, How to Set Them. In Chapter 1 we discussed the importance of discipline. And now I'm going to ask you to start exercising this positive trait. If you haven't yet done so, get out a notebook or a diary. I want you to transform yourself from spectator, reader, into participant, writer. The kind of homework you're about to do here is a little unusual in that it lasts a lifetime. The subject is goals, and as you'll soon learn, goals are a lifelong preoccupation, ever evolving, ever changing. Why should you put yourself through this? Because by doing the work involved you're taking the first steps toward developing the kind of life you've always dreamed about but never believed would happen for you. So let's get on with it. The sooner you exert the discipline, the sooner you'll enjoy the results. And once the results come in, I promise you won't mind one bit that it took some extra work and discipline. Long-range goals. In your notebook or on a sheet of paper, write the heading, Long-Range Goals. Your task is to answer the question, what do I want within the next 1 to 10 years? The key to doing this exercise effectively is to take as little time as possible writing down as many items as possible. Take between 12 to 15 minutes for the whole exercise, and try to write down about 50 different items. To help you get started, consider the following half-dozen questions as guidelines. 1. What do I want to do? 2. What do I want to be? 3. What do I want to see? 4. What do I want to have? 5. Where do I want to go? 6. What would I like to share? With these half-dozen queries in mind, answer the primary question, what do I want within the next 1 to 10 years? Allow your mind to free flow. Don't try to be detailed now, this will come later. For instance, if you want a gray Mercedes 380 SL with a blue interior, just write 380 and move on to the next item. After you have completed your list, review what you've written. Next, put the number of years you believe it will take for you to achieve or to acquire each item on your list. Next to the items you think you'll reach in a year or so, write the number 1. Next to the goals you believe will take approximately 3 years to accomplish, write the number 3. Next to those you think will take 5 years, write 5. And finally, next to those items you estimate will take 10 years to attain, write 10. Now, check to see if your goals are in balance. For example, if you find that you have lots of 10-year goals but very few 1-year goals, this could mean you're putting off having to act now by postponing the target date. On the other hand, if you have very few long-term goals, perhaps you haven't yet decided what kind of life you want to build over the long run. The key here is to develop a balance between shorter-term and longer-term goals. A little later, we'll discuss true short-term goals. These are goals that take less than a year to accomplish. Are you a bit bewildered by the idea of having too many goals? Are you the kind of person who is more comfortable focusing on one goal at a time? Actually, there is a good reason for developing multiple layers of goals. Without many and varied types of goals, you could fall prey to the same thing that happened to some of our early Apollo astronauts. Some of them, upon returning from the moon, experienced deep emotional problems. The reason? Once you've been to the moon, where else do you go? After years of training, visualizing, and anticipating the lunar flight, that moment, glorious as it was gone. All of a sudden there seemed to be an end, a finish to their life's work, and depression set in. As a result of this experience, later astronauts were trained to have other major projects on the fire after their spacework was done. Happiness is elusive. It seems that the best way to enjoy life is to wrap up one goal and simultaneously begin work on the next one. It's dangerous to linger too long at the table of success. The only way to enjoy another meal is to get good and hungry. Alright, now that you've reviewed and balanced your list, choose the 4 goals from each of the 4 time categories, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year, that you consider the most important to you. You now have 16 goals. For each, write a short paragraph which includes the following. 1. A detailed description of what you want. For example, if it's a material object, describe how high, how long, how much, what model, what color, and so on. On the other hand, if it's a position or a business you want to start, give a detailed job description including salary, title, budget under your control, number of employees, and so on. 2. The reason why you want to achieve or acquire the item described. Here you'll find out if you really want it or if it's just a passing fancy. If you can't come up with a clear and convincing reason why you want it, you should categorize this item as a whim, not as a true goal, and replace it with something else. You see, what you want is a powerful motivator only if there is a good reason behind it. You may find that some goals you once considered important no longer have appeal simply because you are unable to find a good enough reason for wanting them. That's good. Doing this assignment is causing you to reflect, refine, and revise. And that's the whole point behind this, to help you plan your future. Once you have settled on your 16 goals, copy them onto a separate sheet of paper or into a permanent journal and carry them with you at all times. Review them once a week to see if they're still important and if you are taking active steps toward their realization. As you can see, goal setting is not a one-time task with the results set in concrete. Instead, it's a continuous, lifelong process. Short-term goals. I define short-term goals as those which take anywhere from a day to a year to achieve. And these goals, although by necessity they are more modest than long-term goals, are of equal importance. A ship captain may set his long-range course toward his final destination, yet along the way there are many short-range points of arrival which must be reached for the voyage to be successful. Now, just as in the case of a sea voyage, the short-term goals must be related to your long-term achievements. But they have the distinct advantage of being reachable in the foreseeable future. I call these kinds of goals confidence builders because their accomplishment gives you confidence to go on. So when you work hard, burn the midnight oil, and complete a specific, short-term task, you can enjoy your win and be re-inspired to continue your journey. That's why I urge you to write down in your notebook or journal your short-range projects as well. How you organize this is up to you. You may, for example, arrange them by day, by week, or by month. Or you may position them as subcategories of your long-term goals. Part of the fun of having a list is the ability to check things off. And when you check something off as completed, take time to celebrate your achievement. This celebration could be a moment of satisfied reflection when you finish a small task or a major reward when the accomplishment calls for it. Regardless, do take time to enjoy your victories. It will only inspire you to do more. But just as I urge you to partake of the heady wine of success, I have another, less popular recommendation: make losing painful. You see, we grow from two kinds of experiences, the joy of winning and the pain of losing. So if you set yourself on course to complete a project and you fooled around instead, find a way to pay for your laziness. Take responsibility for both positive and negative behavior. In addition, surround yourself with people who won't put up with your usual baloney. Don't join an easy crowd. Go where the expectations are high, where the pressure to perform is high. That, too, is part of your overall strategy for wealth and happiness. Sliding. I want you to succeed. That's why I'm a little concerned. You see, I know that most of those who read these pages won't persist in setting and refining their goals. Why? Because it's time-consuming, thought-demanding work. And yet, it's ironic that the many men and women who work hard day in and day out at jobs they don't necessarily like, when asked to take time to design their own futures, often reply, "I don't have the time." They let their future, slide. I know that most people don't make definite plans, but don't you be a part of that most. Don't you go around with your fingers crossed and a worried look on your face, hoping things will get better. Whether you accept it or not, you are, right now, one of the players in the game of life. And believe me, if you don't have goals to shoot at, you aren't playing a very exciting game. No one will pay good money to watch you play a game where nobody's keeping score. The guy says, "You work where I work, by the time you get home it's late. You've got to have a bite to eat, watch a little TV to relax, and get to bed. You can't sit up half the night and plan. And this is the guy who's behind on his car payments. He's a good worker, a hard worker, a sincere worker. But, friends, I've discovered that you can be sincere and work hard all your life and wind up broke and embarrassed. You've got to be better than a good worker. You've got to be better than sincere. You've got to be a good planner, a good goal setter. Writing your goals down shows that you're committed to growth, that you're serious. And to do better, you've got to get serious. You don't have to be grim, but you do have to be serious. Hey, everybody hopes to do better. But hope, unaided by clear planning, can actually hurt you. As the Bible says, hope long delayed makes the heart sick. It's a sickness. I know. I used to suffer from the illness known as passive hope. It's bad. The only thing worse than passive hope is happy passive hope. That's when a man is 50 and broke, and he's still smiling and hoping. Now that's really bad. So get serious. Put your goals on paper. My suggestion to you, from experience.